A big thanks to Bernhard for sponsoring this episode.
I got a beautiful, tasty rib roast. And I'm gonna smoke it until it's juicy and tender. If you're like me and you like big cuts of meat, you're in the right place. Today, I got this beautiful piece of meat. Whoa, look at it. Whoa, that is a beast. But this thing has so much meat that we need to add a lot of flavor to it. Of course, in itself, it has a beautiful beefy flavor, and I can already get that sweet, beefy smell. But I want to add flavor to it and make it even more tasty. And the first step is cleaning up these bones. I want to get as much silver skin and meat off the bone as possible. It's a little bit of work, but it's better in the end for presentation. Once I got them all cleaned up, it's time to trim the outside. There's some fat here that I would rather keep, but underneath that is a lot of silver skin. And that silver skin is gonna make this taste tough if I don't remove it. And now we ended up with this beautiful beef roast. With a good rib roast, I always recommend spending a little bit more to get a really nice quality beef rib roast. Because I want to add as much flavor as possible to this roast, I'm gonna butterfly it. A big cut of beef like this deserves a lot of flavor. I'm gonna start my seasoning with 3 tablespoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of ground black pepper, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, a 1/4 tablespoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of dried oregano leaves, a tablespoon of dried rosemary, a tablespoon of dried parsley, a tablespoon of dried thyme. Now I'm gonna close it up, shake it up, sprinkle it on the inside of my beef, cut up some thin slices of butter and put them on top, roll it back up, tie it up, rub it with mustard and put on more of the same seasoning until you build up a beautiful crust. And that's how you make maximum use of adding flavor to a rib roast. We all been to the parties where someone made a rib roast, just put on a little bit of salt and pepper on the outside, and then it turns out kind of disappointing because the beef tastes great. Of course, it's a little bit salty, but it's not a flavor bomb. We want something special, something extraordinary, and there we have it. Right on a cutting board, but it doesn't belong there. It belongs there. On my Bernhard smoker, I'm gonna load this up with hickory pellets, turn the switch, and set it to smoke at a temperature of 140 degrees Celsius. Now I'm gonna slide in my rib roast, stick in the thermometer, and let the barbecue do its job. In the meantime, I'm gonna make you a Tuscany butter. It starts with 100 grams of butter at room temperature. To that, I'm gonna add a tablespoon of horseradish and a tablespoon of the dried spice mix that I just made for the rib roast. Now I'm gonna mix that all together, and while I'm doing that, I'm adding a little bit of high-quality olive oil to get a more smooth structure. Just got my notification that the rib roast is done, and I was still doing other things, so I shut down the grill, and now... Look what's going on there. That's insane. We got like a river flowing over there. That must be the butter that's coming out. Of course, fat and butter are gonna melt out of this steak while it's getting up to temperature. And it's just created this beautiful river of juices that's running out. But it's time for me to get this roast out and let it rest. Of course, waiting is the hardest part, but then comes the reward. Whoa, let me show you the backside. Look, oh, that's so good. Now, let's carve into this. Whoa. Wow, look right there. It's like a river of butter and herbs coming out. That's how I like it. This is insane. Oh, these are just rivers flowing and flowing and giving us more and more. When does it end? As you can see, this beef is definitely on the rare side. But to me, that's a beautiful sight because there's nothing better than a roast done rare. And this meat just shreds up. You can just give it a little tug and it just falls apart. Let's give it a try.
It's a giant. Oh, that's tender. That's like eating carpaccio.
It is really, really tasty. And at the same time, we didn't lose any of that beef flavor because we put too much seasoning in. No, it's really well balanced. And you might have wondered, like, if you open it up and you put so much seasoning in, aren't you over seasoning? And I want to keep that real beef. But no, that's not what happened. What happened is you actually went in there, seasoned it properly, and seasoned everything. Now it's not just a bland, beefy bit on the inside. It's spectacular. It's filled with flavors.
There's absolutely no way you can lose in a rib roast. You have either super duper juicy meat, a little bit gray but hold all the flavor. There's no losing in this thing. There is no losing in doing a rib roast.
I was thinking, like, what if mustard and lemon had a baby?
Yeah.
It would go horseradish. The flavor of this butter works so well with the beef. It has almost a citrus style of flavor to it. Because of course the beef has some fat in it and it's like super tasty, but it's also kind of like a bit of heaviness. And the butter in there is like heavy as well. But then the horseradish comes in, it's like, well, it's like the gates of heaven open up. So I'm gonna say, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave us a big thumbs up and a comment down below. Big thanks to the patrons and the YouTube members. See you guys next time. Until then, eet smakelijk and don't forget to watch the next video. Cheers.
Cheers.